Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Evil Dead Retrospective. Technically, we have Evil Dead Rise, but the last Evil Dead Retrospective. I am the traumatized Trasnail, and I'm joined by...
The cocksucker, Kirklin.
I am the truly amazing Dylan Moss.
I am the pretty boy, Taylor Field.
Truly amazing. You know that line's in the first Evil Dead too, Dylan. Did you know that?
Totally forgot.
Ash says that, yeah. So it's there's a lot of tributes in
callback.
this film that, we're going to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can go back. We reviewed Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, variety of opinions there, varieties of likes and don'ts and everything like that, and what people like of different Evil Dead, much like Evil Dead. And we are on our way to Rise, so when the public gets this, it'll be kind of the same week, but Patreons, you can begin that ad-free, early exclusive right now. As usual, head down links below, everything you need to know. Independent indie will be next, but I'm sure after newscast we will do a Evil Dead rankings. They're not really villains, so I'll try and get. Well, we can do scenes, but maybe we'll try and get creative with these rankings. See what else we could rank here and stuff like that. But there will be a rankings as always when we end a retro, so look out for that. And this is the 2013 one. At first it was a remake, but then when you watch it, it's kind of like the Evil Dead 2 situation where there's like it's kind of a remake, but there's things that allude to being a sequel. You know, it's not a remake in the sense of Ash is there, but a lot of similar events go down. But it's very kind of it's funny. I feel like this came, I think, in 2013. I feel like Force Awakens really popularized the like legacy sequel thing, where it's like, well, it's a sequel, but it's kind of like a reboot in the sense. This kind of does that, where it hits on very similar beats and stuff like that. So, Kirklin Patzer, I'm going to start with you. When was the first time you saw this? This was directed by Fede Alvarez. He did this. He did Don't Breathe as well. He did Girl with Dragon Tattoo. And what I can't wait is he's doing the next Alien movie for Hulu. So I cannot wait to see what Fede does with Alvarez. He was my pick. I don't think he will now, but he was before Matt Reeves. I really want him to do Batman. I love his style. So Kirklin, how do you feel about this the first time you did? Or if it's your first time, let us know.
Yeah, I saw this not in theaters. It probably would have been 2014, 2015 range. Watched this with my dad for the first time. As I've mentioned on the retros, him and I have big attachments to the Evil Dead movies. So this was a fun one to watch with him at the time. And man, I remember I had only seen it that one time, but I remember just like because it had been like almost a decade now since that viewing. I'm like scarred from that movie, but it's like a scar where I remember it just being so good. It's as if I'm just a glutton for punishment or something. It's just like, oh, it hit me and it just felt so good or it all super bad in all the right reasons is a better way to phrase that. This movie, I like just certain images were just cemented in my brain. You guys know this for me. I'm really bad with like borderline torture porn type things and like just the grotesqueness of this. And this movie has so much of that. Especially just, I mean, like looking at it and comparing it to like the Evil Dead, like early stages. Mostly the first two movies. I'm not really counting Army of Darkness because that's just a whole unicorn in and of itself. But I think this is just such a great like remake. Yeah, Travis, you're kind of dancing around some other terms for it. In my mind, I definitely see this as a remake just because there is certain beats that they hit, but they modernize it. They evolve from it. It's not just retelling the same story the same way. Like they really do build upon and like make it more modern. And yeah, I think this is such a well-made remake. I'm not super attached to the cast at all. I don't think that's like a big thing amongst the Evil Deads. Like you don't really get attached to any of the characters other than Ash, and this one does not have Ash. So the new male lead in this one definitely did not have the Ash isms. For me at least. Yeah, it sounds like you too as Travis. But yeah, man, this movie, revisiting it now, there was a lot of just moments that I had forgotten about. Obviously I kind of knew the main hit points, especially coming off the retro that we've been doing. But yeah, this movie, honestly too, it like has me scared going into Evil Dead Rise because I'm like, oh fuck, like this is how scary this world can actually be. And thinking of the teaser trailer, or sorry, not the teaser trailer, just the full-on trailer for Evil Dead Rise, like that trailer is very much on this level of just horror and scary elements and grossness. So I'm a little nervous going into to Rise. I think before watching this one, I was like all hype, no fear or anything like that. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that date. I can wait for that date now. I'm a little nervous.
In theaters too, man.
Yeah, I've
this
rarely
movie in theaters
seen.
was fucking loud. This was a loud movie. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps already. Yeah, like after I watched this, I was like doing dishes, and I was just like thinking of like images from the movie like hitting me, and I'm like, oh, I'm like scared right now. I have to like put on something. So yeah, this definitely did its job at scaring the hell out of me. And yeah, I'm nervous now. So thank you, Evil Dead.
I guess you've been at home alone this last few days.
Yeah,
That probably
oh.
didn't help as well.
It's a good thing I didn't watch it like a week ago or something. Because yeah, this week would have been I would have been hearing things in the wee hours of the night probably.
Should wait till Shay got home. She would have loved it, I think, right? This would have been a big
No.
favorite for her.
Hell no, she wouldn't even watch like Army of Darkness probably.
Yeah. Dill Muss, I want to go to you next because, you've had a journey where, Evil Dead 1 wasn't the biggest fan, maybe appreciate some of the indie stuff, but really, and then 2, liking a little bit better. Army of Darkness, breakthrough. That's where you are on the side of Evil Dead, of your fandom there. But then you got this where, even more so than the originals, this is a complete 180 for what Army of Darkness is. And obviously it's many, many years. I can't remember what the actual date is between the two. It's 20, 30 years, something like that. So you have the campiness and, parody almost style of Army of Darkness, but then you got this, which is just like hardcore horror. So where did you land on this one?
Yeah, so once again, all these are first-time viewings for me, but yeah, I guess to break it down in two ways, in terms of it, like as a standalone movie, as a horror movie, I think it's very solid. It's very scary. The effects are amazing in this, even just down to the things like, there's the cinematography of it and the editing and all that stuff. It just feels much more polished and modern, which of course it should be, because it's a very different thing here where you're having a director who's done a ton of things versus someone who had no money and was doing their first movie. Obviously, that's going to be a very different vibe there. I slightly different from Kirklin. I actually like a couple of the characters here. I think there's some cool stuff going on here. No one meets up with Ash. Obviously, he's the eternal number one here of this series, I think. But there are some characters that I got a kick out of, particularly Eric, who's like the nerdy guy who's doing all the
I
book
love
stuff.
Eric.
Every line he has, I was just chuckling because he's the least helpful person of all time, but I love his just pessimism through all of it. It's so good. So I really like that character.
It's so weird. I have a friend, and luckily he's not like the pessimistic as much, but attitude and looks, he looks identical to this guy. So he was one of me and Kyle's friends named Keegan. We had him on Dynamic Duo once
say
back
Eric
in the day.
or something. I was like, oh no, it isn't.
No. His name, but that was always a joke around Best Buy when we saw us. Like he fucking was a spit, glasses, the hair, everything. He was a spitting image. So I'm with you. I like the Eric character quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. So in terms of it just being a straight up horror movie in that way, I think it's really, really good. Really enjoyed it. And then really interesting the way this is, the remake, the sequel. Who knows what's really going on here? I thought it was very well done in the way that it plays on certain tropes and things like that what happened in the first two movies, even stuff from Army of Darkness, in a way that didn't just feel like cheap knockoff. It felt like homage in certain ways too. They would like subvert your expectations of what you thought was going to happen based on pretty much a lot of the same events happen in 1 and 2 and all that stuff, right? So in that way, I thought it was really cool. Like they, I had the Deadite vision in there, and we'll go through a list of all the different things that are kind of shout outs and whatnot. So in that way, I thought it was really cool as well. But I think there's something slightly missing with it, and I think that, like, as much as I'm not really a big fan of Evil Dead 1 or 2, I really like Army of Darkness for what that's doing, but just talking about Evil Dead specifically, those two first ones, there's something that still feels very unique and special. There's a tone about them that is truly unlike anything else I've ever seen, and this feels more generic. Now, obviously, as a horror movie, it's still very solid. Once again, all the the special effects and all that stuff, terrifying in that way, but it feels less special, strangely. So obviously I enjoy it more than those, but there's a part missing, and it's hard for me to put my finger on exactly what that is. But yeah, I had a good time with it still.
I know it's like the most cop out answer, but it's just like, I think it's just Sam Raimi. Like it's just like whatever his special ingredient is of directing. Like look when we talk about Multiverse of Madness, right? Where it's just like there's something he always brings to these movies that other directors don't. So I think like
even if that taste like was not a good taste in the mouth,
Yes.
it was still something that stood out for sure.
yeah, no, that's a good comparison. I feel because I feel like at times like it's super weird to say this movie like plays it safe because I don't think that's the answer, but it is a much more like modern day horror where in the 80s that stood out. I was like, oh, this is something really weird and off-putting and different and stuff like that. Like I don't think this one would have the cult following that Evil Dead would have had, but it just kind of gets to do kind of build upon that, which I'm not sure if I put in my trivia, but that's one of the things. Like Sam Raimi was a big proponent, like he wanted this to happen because he just thought the same thing as everyone else. Like it could use a remake as far as just like the budget and everything of like I think his pitch was always like, look what you could do, and Bruce Campbell was completely against it until they took Ash out of it, and then he was all for it. That's the way they kind of pitched it. I think even
Like
the director
with a recasted Ash, you mean?
that
Like,
was the
yeah, okay.
the original proposal was that, but then it kind of sounded like even Fetty was like, I don't really want to do like not as far as oh fuck ass, but just in the way of like, do I want to recast that without you and do that? So he, because he's a producer on this as well, but that was the thing. He wasn't on board until Ash wasn't, or maybe they're just lying to him and like, oh yeah, we don't want to do it. But that was originally, there was a couple pitches of it recasting Ash and doing it over, and they didn't. And I think that's for the best. I kind of like that, just Campbell's thing. And then after this, they went on to do the TV show too. So it's kind of cool too, because I feel like if you were to recast Ash, they might have not wanted to do that because when, oh, well, there's a new actor playing that character and you've kind of been replaced. So it kind of gave him the opportunity to go do 3 seasons of Evil Dead. So, Pretty Boy.
So, I've seen this movie only once before, and that wasn't even in theaters because I definitely put this off for a little bit when it first released because I heard my friends saying that it was just super gory and everything like that, and I didn't cross that threshold yet in my life. Yeah. First time viewing it, holy smokes. I remembered it kind of, for me, picking up, and I really enjoyed it in probably like the more like third act or like the back end of the film. And not that the first part wasn't bad. Like I like that back part because to me that's what felt really like a whole tribute to Evil Dead and the aesthetic that they established in the Evil Dead 2 and like a little bit of Army of Darkness, not a lot, but a little bit. So now coming in and watching it again, now I knew I was not watching this with Madison, not a fucking chance. So I watched it a bit last night and I put it on and finished like the last hour this morning before work. Definitely not a good before work movie in the morning.
Not a morning movie.
No, morning movie, that's a bold choice.
I'm gonna start my day.
I didn't have enough time.
Evil Dead.
Yeah, it was
Just crank the audio at like 5 in the morning.
But yeah, this overall, like, I would definitely watch this again, but I think I have to really be in that right mood to kind of sit and just indulge into this film because, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a fantastic remake and tribute to Evil Dead with the budget they got, everything they do, the Easter eggs, the things they tackle. It's great. And fuck, there are some things in this movie that just make me cringe. Oh my gosh. 2 things like just very particular that just make me cringe, but like there's one, I'll save it for when we start talking about the movie, but it takes the cake. I feel like I could feel the pain and it sucks. But yeah, they didn't hold back, and I liked how they tackled the story, and I thought, like, in summary, having this person who is obviously got a horrible drug addiction, they're going through withdrawals, and like the fact that they're actually demonically possessed, and your friend's like, it's okay, just stay.
Bad
like,
timing,
real bad timing,
timing.
but like it works, and it makes a very interesting story that they pursued with this. So I got a kick out of that. Yeah, and then. Yeah, sure enough, again, like I said, it's just that the back half of the film gets to be really Evil Dead-y, and I love that. I thought that was fantastic.
Sorry.
No, I know overall. No, you go.
Well, I was just gonna say something that caught my eye while watching this is like, man, I think Resident Evil Biohazard took like major inspiration from this movie. I don't know when that game released. It was definitely after that time. But just thinking of like I guess it's your wife, the player character's wife that you like encounter very early on in that. It's like a spitting image of Mia at multiple moments in this
I think
movie.
her name's Mia too.
Is it
there you go. Yeah, there you go. And like there was one particular moment too when they're in the basement just jumping right in. But they're in the basement and it's like a watery section. And I'm like, man, this is the opening to Resident Evil Biohazard. Like I've seen these scenes, I've played these scenes. No wonder they're so terrifying for me because I was terrified while playing them. But I didn't actually look into the name there, so that's even more so. Mia.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, this is a movie that, so I saw it when it came out. It was one of those things that I remember. So when this movie came out, it was when I was in New York, and I remember I was in Times Square, and like that's a big place in New York, and I just remember it's the cover of Mia and it's that red and it's just like that review of like one of the most horrifying movies you've ever seen, and it's just like on the biggest billboard possible in New York. And I remember I didn't get to see it right away because I was there, and I was so bummed because all I kept hearing about was just it's so fucked up, it's crazy. And much like Kirklin the reverse, I'm all into the torture porn because I'm always like, okay, what can we do new? And I feel like this movie does a lot of shit where it's just like, I haven't seen this or seen this as done as well with the budget, and just it looks so like it's one of those things where when we do the Saw retro, there's sometimes where there is cringe, but there's other times where it's just like, okay, I can't even buy into this because like the pain that they're going through looks so over the top. Like I don't understand what it means to get like this part fully ripped off and this twisted. Like I can't respond to that. But this movie, the pain threshold and what they put these characters through is just each of them. It's the way it's shot. It's the makeup team. It's all that stuff. So they do such a good job. And yeah, so eventually I got home. I saw it. This is when Emily and I were... Boy, so what is this? This is November, December, January, February, March. We're only about 5 months into our relationship, and we haven't really gone past the she's not a horror fan yet. And I was telling Dylan about this a little bit before SideQuest. So me and my sister were going, my mom was going, and I don't know if she saw it with me because it was kind of still like oh yeah, like I'll I'll get more hanging out with your family and stuff like that. What an experience for her because she fucking hates this movie so much. Most of it, she was just like, had her head in my arm, but I watched this thing and I absolutely love the thing. This is just like hardcore, just fucking smash mouth, like horror that I just loved. And I think it's like acted well enough for the most part. I love the girl who plays Mia. I always screw up her name. I think it's Jane Levy or Jane whatever, because I liked her in this. I like her in Don't Breathe. I hate that she's like in nothing else. She's just these fucking leads of Evil Dead are cursed. Like she's a great actress and she's just in nothing. She's not around. Also, I hope that changes. Same thing in Don't Breathe. She was great there. But yeah, I love this movie so much. I love how visceral it is. I love that it is a remake, but kind of like Taylor's talking about, where okay, you have this new pitch of it's not Ash's friends, it's Mia and her friends, and the pitch is to try and get her this intervention. I like that it's a remake, but I think these are some better remakes where it's a remake, but it's kind of a play on it, where let's change this a little bit, let's change that, not just, hey, it's a remake with updated graphics, because you could do that, but even just the way they have multiple lines and scenes from the original, but just the way they change the route of things. And we talked about the first time, like how fucking Bruce Campbell gets like a bloodbath in that movie. They literally like this is a blood wave. Like this is the crazy. I just remember the last 15 minutes of this movie when we get to it. Seeing on the big screen was just some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. From the blood to the fucking deadite coming out to fucking Mia's arm, everything. So this movie, it's a roller coaster in the best way. And I love it. I watched it kind of twice because funny enough, I fell asleep in the middle of it because I was watching this like 2 a.m. But then I went back and I was going to only watch the last half an hour, but I just found myself, I watched like the back half all over again. So, and even again, as much like the other Evil Dead, as we're talking about, I'm like, oh, I could watch that right now. So I absolutely love it. I think they do such a great job, the score, the atmosphere. So it's this to me was the thing that I watch anything Fetty would do, which that's why I was actually pulling his IMDb. I didn't know for Apple Plus he did a show called Calls in 2021, so I'm gonna actually check out that show. It has like Aubrey Plaza in it and Clancy Brown, and it has some other people and stuff like Joey King, Rosario Dawson, Nick Jonas. I had no idea the show existed, so yeah, I'm looking very forward to this Alien movie. But yeah, this is I don't know if this is a top 10 horror for me, but it's up there in that it's in a top tier echelon. I'm a big fan of it. So
I don't think I can say I love this movie. It's very well made, but you said you could jump right into it. I need like a cool down which is scary because
Oh,
we have
yeah.
Evil Dead Rises coming up. I feel like I need a bigger cooldown than that.
It feels like an experience. It's definitely one of those like, yeah, I can't. It's not a background movie. Like I gotta be,
No.
you gotta be ready for it. But I kind of love that. It is like you're on that roller coaster. It's gonna be so scary. It's gonna flip you twice. It's gonna make you feel like your seat's like gonna fucking fall out and you have no seatbelt. You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die right here. But that's Evil Dead 2013, you know. So yeah, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with some? Actually, I want to start with the opening. As far as I really liked, in the past we talked about how the Deadites they're almost more teasing and stuff like that, and I like the way that it's this daughter. They're doing the sacrifice and everything like that. I like that they don't show her being infected yet till the very end when she's about to get shot. So up until that point, it's not like, oh, you saw her as a Deadite, turn back to normal, and then turn back to this. It is a very much like, I feel like too, if someone had never seen Evil Dead, you're watching this, you're like, why is this guy gonna fucking kill his daughter? And she like, but then when that turn happens, they're like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, and they burn her, and she's laughing. It's just, I just remember that's when Emily looked at me in the theater of like, what have you got me into? And that's why it's like, I remember the theater because I didn't see opening weekend, but it still was like, had a good word of mouth. I just remember the whole theater like having that uncomfortable laugh in the opening scene, like, holy fuck, like what are we doing here? And that set the tone for this movie. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely. I think it's cool too. Is it kind of like comes back to that later when we go through the basement again, and it kind of connects it too. Because for a bit I guess I didn't even see it immediately as being like the same cabin. I kind of forgot about that until we were walking through there again with our main character, and he walks by that beam, and then they're like do that flashback, which I don't think that was maybe necessary, but I don't know, maybe it was. Maybe I would have forgot without it, but it seemed a bit goofy, and I guess a way that worked. But yeah, definitely just a very very strong opening in that way. And I think, I mean, we kind of mentioned it, but just the whatever the contacts that they have in their eyes, like that yellow is terrifying, and like just the makeup work is so specific and really great. So I mean, that goes for that witch as well as all the other ones too. But yeah, really just, I don't know, creepy faces are the things that get me the worst out of any horror movie. That's always the thing that's stuck in my head, and I can't sleep because I think of those scary faces, and I'm gonna have those ones in my head for a while now, unfortunately.
Well, and you go from like, you look at Evil Dead 1 and even 2 when they're using like lots of makeup and they're like doing the best they can. And
Yeah,
then
those first two are never scary for me, right? That's
Yeah.
like there's a huge difference now where obviously
Yeah.
maybe if I had some nostalgia for them, they would have that factor, but like just genuinely terrifying this time.
like the shots when they kind of recreate them, and it's Mia in the well looking up, and you just see like her eyes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's frightening, just so frightening. So
Yeah, this is very, very strong opening. I actually completely forgot about this opening too. So when it was on, it was like, oh, like what's going on here? And then because you have these characters that like basically
They
ambush
kidnap
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they don't have like super handsome like Ryan Gosling as Ken like kidnapping this poor girl. Like they look
Oh,
like
fuck, that's
psycho
Barbie too.
hillbillies in the back.
Put
They
them
look
in the
like-
cabin. Yeah.
They look like psycho hillbillies or something,
Yeah.
but you know, looks can be deceiving. And then yeah, I loved it too because it was very different than the other ones. And like Dylan, you mentioned like the way that they tie that to the basement, and then like where our characters kind of come through it later on. I feel like I really like when movies do that kind of trope of like having a scene that's shown, and then later on like our main cast kind of uncovers that. It's usually a horror setting when that happens. It's usually never a positive thing that they're finding. But yeah, like even leading up to like when they first get into the cabin, and Mia's just like, "What is that smell? Like that's awful." And it's just this like this thing that like it is pretty early on in the movie when they do find the actual trap door and go investigating. But I think for myself even it was pretty easy to look past that of like not seeing this movie in almost 10 years and just being like, "Oh yeah, that's where the opening was. It was in the basement. And some evil things were going on."
Mm-hmm. Very evil things.
This cabin feels, again, so much more scarier than that one from the original. And I love that they're able just to kind of clean it up, get the power working. They got a shower and everything like that. So all in all, it's like a pretty well-rounded cabin. But the moment, again, that they pull that carpet back into that blood, I'd be like, we gotta get the fuck out. That's not normal.
They tried though, right? They did try to leave. It was flooded, remember?
No, the flood
Yeah.
was after the fact. That was after.
But I think
Mia
it was- I think it was always gonna be flooded. I don't think they were getting.
They
out
were
of there.
doomed. The second
they-
that they
Oh
arrived
yeah,
at the
they were. The
cabin.
second they read from the book, they were doomed.
Yeah.
The kind of reverse expectation, I guess, or subverting expectation of like, okay, these guys are probably gonna try and like infect her, put something into her from the book, like, yeah, 'cause she's running away, and you don't see that. Usually, the survivors, the people that are afraid and uninfected, are the ones running from the demon. And now this, you have a demon running from them, which was very interesting. But yeah, just. If you know Evil Dead, then you're well versed, obviously, in what's going on. But it's just when she turns and she's on that thing burning, as she's talking like, "Yeah, your whore wife" and stuff like that. Like, just it's just they just up the ante. These demons, they don't fuck around. They get you.
These Deadites are very mean in this one, like in the way, like the other way they were teasing, but just like pardon my French, but like when Mia's taken over and they just say, like, she has Mia say like, your sister's in hell being raped by the devil, and you're just like, oh my god, like they're saying these things that are the first ones. I feel like in the first effect they played more on emotion of, oh, this is a loving person that's this thing now, and then when they were the Deads, they were very teasing, but that's how they could almost go back, because it's like, oh, they've not done anything too terrible, like they have, I guess, but I mean, like they're almost like a little more lighthearted, so when they turn back to themselves, you could almost believe it, like, oh, they're still in there, but it's like there's nothing left of your sister or your daughter, whoever they are, like your friend. When these things take over, there, and some of them don't even have like the dialogue, like some of them when they get taken over, they're just like zombies and stuff like that. But yeah, they make them the dialogue very, very vicious and gross and very just not kind.
Yeah, I think we said in maybe it was Evil Dead 1 or 2, but like they should have just been called like the Silly Dead. Like that's kind of how more they came off. But in this, yeah, they officially hit the evil category in terms of just that dialogue there.
Oh yeah. So Kirklin, I want to go with you because we meet these group of friends and everything like that, and so Ash wasn't the new Ash wasn't for you, anything like that. But yeah,
No.
we got him, we got the girlfriend.
You recognize that actor now, Kirkland?
No, I don't actually.
What is he from?
Travis, you don't recognize him either? I think I recognize him only because I've watched this show more recent than you guys, but he's in season 1 of Euphoria. He's the guy that Kat hooks up with at the carnival, and then they like hang out a couple times and bang a couple more times.
Really?
That can't be him.
I'm pretty sure it's him.
There's no way he's playing a high schooler. There's no way.
Well, he's not a high schooler in that show, though. He's like some random guy that she hooks up with. And he has like the lip ring in. He's got the toque.
Oh God, you might be right.
I am right. Whether you don't believe me, that's up to you.
Oh, did you look it up? Like, you're right?
Well, I did because the whole time I was watching, I'm like, I have
God.
seen this guy, but I can't picture what it is. And I was
Trevor,
going through the
that's
stuff.
his name.
Yeah, I saw him in
at the
Euphoria. I'm like,
carnival, yeah.
who is he in Euphoria? And then I looked up pictures of him in Euphoria. I'm like, wow, I can't like that. I
Wow.
recognized him somewhat, but like, yeah, if I had watched that show 2 years ago, a year ago, I don't think I would have made the connection.
So Euphoria is a sequel to Evil Dead. He made it out. That's
made
why
it
his
out,
life.
yeah.
That's why his life should in Evil Dead and Euphoria though, or he's just some carnival worker that hates his life because he's
Lost his
lost
sister.
a lot of stuff. But yeah, and then you got Mia, the sister, and then you have the nurse friend as well. So you got a collection of young people, but obviously it's different this time. Like Taylor talked about, it's not a vacation. It's an intervention. But they've done this before. But hopefully this is the real time.
Yeah, I think I just have a lot of attachment for Bruce Campbell and Ash that like just not having him there is like a big void. But I think out of everything I did actually like the sister the most, Mia, and also just the whole like motivation for why they're there is definitely intriguing, especially paralleling that with like the possession aspect. Like it's just like you said, Travis, it's the worst possible timing for something like that to happen because she's just going cold turkey and everyone's like, no, this is for your own good, you're gonna be thanking me in the morning. We're all gonna be fucking dead by that point.
She's
David.
killing all her friends.
Yeah, so like I think that is a good just like plot point or motivation for our characters. I just thought like overall though, other than Mia, I just found them all kind of bland. I didn't like the character of Eric like you two did, or maybe 3. Not sure Taylor's thoughts on Eric there, but
Yeah, Taylor,
I just was
where
like,
do you land on Eric?
I mean, I didn't really have much of a beef with any of our characters.
No beef?
To be honest, no.
No
not
beef.
Yeah.
I feel like Taylor would strike up a conversation with Eric though. He'd see him across the room and
Oh,
go
yeah.
talk to him.
They talk about cryptids for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I got this
oh,
book,
You got a
Taylor.
book? Yeah. Want to
Yeah,
see
I
my
mean,
drawings?
He's a teacher, so I mean, like, I don't know if I would talk to him because at the end of the day, like, it depends. Like, I would talk to him
Wow.
before he does this, but I wouldn't talk to him after. Like, if you find a fucked up book like this, you shouldn't be transcribing it. That's just
Yeah, it's see,
No one believes
yeah,
that
Clear
stuff's real, though,
instructions
right?
to not to.
yeah.
yeah. It's it's tough because if you were to see that, you definitely would like. I know maybe Taylor wouldn't. I would definitely like look at it, but I wouldn't be transcribing it. That's a step too far. I wouldn't want to be.
So you'd pull the barbed wire off and you'd open up that. Bad
Okay,
boy.
that's fair.
Hey,
The
if
book
you're
with the
at this
barbed
cabin
wire.
and you have nothing else to do, you're just killing time.
And you found blood. And you found dead cats and stuff under the thing. You're so Dylan's opening the
the
book.
dead,
clearly.
okay, the dead cats. Yeah, then if I see those, now I'd also get in the car and leave, and I would swim through that water. I would leave at that point. But I think in
100%.
terms
I'm
of
doing a cannonball.
taking that part out of it, I might just like read this book, try to figure it out. Because like, what else am I gonna do? I don't have internet,
out.
you know. Like this guy didn't have his like Nintendo DS with him or anything like that. Probably pretty fucking bored.
Yeah, it's quite the and this is like the second book we talked about that where Bruce Campbell dealt with the one book. This is the second book, and then Rise is gonna have the third book. So I'm very interested of obviously not trying to make this a Rise podcast, but I'm just very interested of how the book gets into like a town setting. You know, like I'm very curious if they answer that or if just someone finds this book because all these like, oh, they're in a creepy cabin, right? And stuff like that.
I have not actually watched a trailer for Rise. Is that a direct sequel to this? And like no funny business, like it's a sequel, or what's going on?
No, I think it's just on its own. Like there's no characters
Okay.
from the like it's not me or anything like that. I think it's just a
Really, no Mia coming back, eh?
No, I never and it's so weird because
Is
the
she in
budget,
the show or something? Is her narrative? That's so
No.
weird. That's
Yeah,
really weird.
and I'll pull it up too because I'm pretty sure from budget to box office it was a good profit. So I was surprised they didn't do anything with it. There was talks of this is in my trivia. There was talks of an Army of Darkness 2 at one point. They were pitching it that it was going to be her and Ash teaming up together to do something, and then that didn't happen. So they took some of the storylines and put that into the Evil Dead TV show. But that was the pitch they were trying to do was her and Ash together because obviously I'm not sure if you guys watched the end credit of this movie. There's a Bruce Campbell's in there. It's
I
nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. I was pissed in the theater. He's in a car. He looks over at the camera and just says "groovy," and they cut away, and it's just like his approval or something. But people are taking that as they're gonna do, and that they were trying. They were trying to do an Army of Darkness 2 with these two characters teaming up together, which I would have loved to seen. Like the seriousness of Mia's journey and what happened to her with Bruce, like I would have loved to seen that dynamic of those two together and the bonding over the lost hands. But
The profit that this made must have not justified the
Yeah.
bigger budget that Army of Darkness 2 would have taken. That must have been the difference maker there. Why
So-
they didn't do it?
Yeah, the budget was around $17 million, and then apparently the gross worldwide was 97,542,000. That was insane.
yeah,
Damn,
was it?
that's really
and
good.
that, yeah, I feel like that's really good for like a horror film that
That's
hasn't
Army of
had a
Darkness
movie.
2 level. Like, give them that budget. Let's make it happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did the director not
Absolutely.
want to? Because obviously he's not doing Rise either, right?
I was gonna try and see even if on Wikipedia they say, but yeah, no. Well, he's not. Well, yeah, I guess they didn't do Rise because of he went on to do other stuff too. But there we go. So this was the story. I guess Wikipedia has this in October 2019. Raimi announced at New York Comic Con that the new film was officially greenlit in development. Blah blah. They're talking about all these things. Yeah, no, they never ran with it as a sequel. I guess it was always designed as Evil Dead Rise. It's just a new one. So. It's very strange it didn't happen, but I guess maybe just if you weren't gonna do Mia and Ash, maybe they just didn't feel there was a story to do with Mia again, like in a second one. Because like if you look at Ash, it's like the first one, the second one's kind of a pseudo remake, and then Army of the Darkness, so there's like an escalation. But maybe with Mia and this kind of being a more, I'd say, real world kind of horror movie, they're like, what else can we do with this? She's gone, she's left the cabin, so it's over. But
Yeah, I mean,
was
even the
surprised
way
it took so long.
The movie ends with like, you know, the classic cliffhanger thing of like that deadite thing popping out, right? Or whatever it is. So
Yeah, and yeah, it took
Weird.
us 10 years to get another one. But yeah, it has nothing to do with this one. But when we
Fair
talk
enough.
about the books there, that's where some of the signs of it being like a sequel, because in one of the pages you turn, there's a picture of Ash's hand. Of course, it's giving the middle finger, but his cut off hand is in the book and stuff like that. It's drawn. So, and it's like
From
so
this
like,
book and this movie.
in this movie, yeah, there's a picture of
shit.
Bruce Campbell's hand doing this and stuff like that. So that's where technically it is a follow up, but it's just, which I kind of don't mind either, because even if you play it that way, I kind of like that almost anybody that goes to the cabin, you're gonna have those similar beats of you'd find the book, the scary stuff. A tree's always going to get you, unfortunately, which again, that is just like the tree thing is just like this. In the first movie, it's unsettling, but in this movie, it's just disturbing. And what's even worse, though, I feel like too, is they do that cut of, man, when she's locked up in the trees and they have like the evil version of Mia, like the Deadite version, and they have that a lot of just watching her and it just open up its mouth and it's blood and just like loud music. My God, that stuff is scary. Or even like the one that always sticks with me too is when he finds the dog and the dog's dead and he lifts up and he sees like these stab marks and they just do like a quick flash. To me, it just like, and then quick, it's just like they do such a good job of like that kind of before the shit hits the fan of the underlining evil, and they show it quite a bit early, like this evil Deadite version, like the car when it crashed into her. But I love all that stuff they do, the kind of, like I said, the calm before the storm, everything getting really bad.
Yeah, I really liked the tree scene in this because I did, once again, going back to the retro, the first one, I did not like that. I thought it was pretty just like 15-year-old weird juvenile, like very strange scene. And like in this, it's a similar sort of thing, but in that first one where it's just like, of course it rips her clothes off and her tits are falling out and all that stuff. It's just like, come on, Sam, you can do better than this. This is fucking weird. But this was just creepy and very claustrophobic. I think that's where it was very successful. It was like her being in those branches and like, the way they're just pulling on her skin and stuff like that. And then you're right, just being face to face with one of those things once again with those fucking eyes, man. Oh, just a terrifying thought all around.
And like the black goo thing,
It's
like it,
gross.
like
It's all thorns on it and shit.
yeah, like you can't like pin like what specifically it could be. It looks like almost serpentine at a moment, but it's also just this like goo that it's like what even is it other than just evil? So yeah, I think they did a good
The
job
essence
with
of
that
evil.
design. Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to Eric,
We did need to talk about Eric more for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kirkland, did you actually want to say anything about Eric?
I will. Yeah. So Eric, I found I did not vibe with that character at all. Just all his decisions were really stupid in my mind, and
That's fair.
like I get it. You need someone to read the book in this situation, but no other project has had this many deterrents from like actually saying just these final last words. And like I would like I it's almost comedic the way that he's like, don't, like he's seeing these on every single page that he's flipping through. It's like, do not say this, do not say this. They even go through the effort of like scratching out the very very last word, and he like gets all MacGyver on us and like gets like a piece of paper and like just totally like traces it, and then I don't know, it's so I get it, you need it in there, but he's just such a goof in that sense. And I feel like I get it, he's a teacher, maybe he's just got that lust for knowledge.
Yeah,
and
that's
he just
what they're
needs
doing.
to
A school lesson for his students.
yeah, I'm totally bringing this into class.
Tonight's homework.
But I feel like there's also
That's
moments
how
when
it gets
like
the Evil Dead
he
Rise. He's a teacher.
I feel like he should have like kind of caught on to the similarities of what was going on with Mia at some moment. Like he keeps it to himself about this book for so long until like later on he's like, oh, I think I fucked up. I think I just totally unleashed.
That is the smart thing of them making her trying to go cold turkey, right? Because your mind might not jump to that right away. You might just think,
true,
she's fucked up because I think they're smart with doing we've done this before. So clearly they saw the first time where it didn't work out, and he's probably, if she even act very similar, obviously not similar as far as like taking a fucking box cutter and like cutting your tongue, but like any like that to me is the worst one. That's the one that always gets me the most when I see that. But that's where it's like, until it gets to that level, all the stuff of her just like shaking in the shower, like it's all just signs of, okay, this is believable that she could be lying and just really messed up. I think it's once people start drumming like flies. Again, it's too late for the professor.
It's the shotgun that Mia fires off. That's when he starts to say, because he's looked at the science, he's made the comparisons to the books. This is the trigger. Like, okay, now I gotta tell everyone, like, hey, that's not Mia. That's a fucking demon or something in there. I read the passages.
And it's too late because it's,
I started this.
It's funny because other than God, what is Mia's brother's name? Why can I not
David.
remember?
David.
David. Other than David and Eric, I feel like the rest of the cast drops real fast. Like I feel like with the very first Evil Dead, you get that thing in the trees and then they get in the basement, but then it's kind of like one by one, but it feels like there's almost like 10 or 15 minutes between them. When Mia gets back to the cabin, that shotgun goes off. She gets taken. The nurse gets taken. The girlfriend gets taken. It's so because when I fell asleep and had to go back and look at the chapters, I was just seeing like each chapter was a face of like a new messed up person. It's like within like 30 minutes, all our main characters are going down. And even Eric, he doesn't get possessed, but he gets that syringe to the eye. I just like
Fuck.
that stuff where it's like I've never seen this in a horror movie before. Like shot this way of it's just going in his cheek and his eye, everything, and like the effects.
When
that's
he
where it's just
pulls
like,
it out too.
Oh!
they
I couldn't even
did
look.
such a
I
good
couldn't
job.
even look. I have to admit, there's many scenes I had to just look away. I couldn't even.
Well, good thing I got the
handle
clip
it.
right here.
You
No.
must have looked away for all the best Eric scenes. That's why you didn't like the character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Him
But
pulling
yeah,
shit
we-
out of his skin.
We lose those characters quite fast compared to some of the other ones. So
I was surprised that Olivia, who's the nurse, like died during that altercation in the bathroom. I was 100% certain that she was gonna get back up and her head was gonna be messed up, but then she would be back in the fight. Because I felt like for a deadite, you got to do more than that. Like I know he was a pretty vicious attack, but I still felt for a deadite. I was surprised that she didn't pop back up at all.
yeah, no.
Am I alone on that? Sounds like it. All right.
I agree
that's
in
fine.
hindsight. in
I
the moment,
didn't think
I,
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it, but yeah, because they usually take a pretty good beating. Because I feel like David's girlfriend, like she's a hard one to kill. Like I think that goes on for a little while, but like, Eric's just that strong, I guess, right? That's the only deadite he took down. The rest were all David and Mia. So David, he's
Must have
working
had
out under that.
so much adrenaline pumping through his
Yeah.
body that gave him the strength there. But man, Eric's like I said earlier, I just love how pessimistic he is. He fucking hates David, and I love that dynamic. That anytime David says anything, Eric's like immediately there to shut him down. Even though this is like pretty traumatic thing that's going on, even before the deadite stuff happening. Like there's just a lot of chaos going on, and he is just the least helpful person. Where oftentimes in these movies, these kinds of horror movies, there's always a character that's like, oh, it's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be okay. And I love anytime someone says that, specifically David. Eric's like, does it look like it's gonna be fine? It is not gonna be fine. And he's so aggressive about it. It was amazing. And the other point too is like, I think when Eric was like going through the book and he was like, this is what we need to do to save them or to end this curse or something like that. And David's like, are you sure about that? And he's like, am I sure? Of course I'm not sure. This isn't a science book. I loved his delivery on that line. It's like that perfect amount of cheese, but I just love how much of a shithead he is. And he's just such an asshole. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great.
I like that, but I also like that they gave them like a little like
They had their
happy
moment,
end.
too.
Yeah, and because like some movies don't do that, right? They just make them like budding rivals, and then that kind of happens very quickly, and then the character dies. I like that there was this moment where he's hurt and he was happy he was back, and that was the course of the issue, right? It wasn't that they just hated the guy; it's just that he felt like he kind of abandoned their friend group and kind of put them in the past, and they reveal reasons of why with Mia and his mother. They just wanted to get away. So I feel like it's sure like I won't say surface level stuff. It's like very easy character stuff, but it's stuff that lots of horror movies don't even bother with. Like the idea of their mother being sick and that's why they were estranged. That's why he left and he wanted to have a different life. And these friends feel a little pissed off and they've been doing the intervention before. Like it makes you feel like, okay, most of them are basic horror characters, but it gives you like a little bit extra. I feel like the only one that just kind of feels like just there is David's girlfriend. It's just I feel like she's there just to be another deadite, but most of it feels like this is a friends group that at one point was together, and you get little details along the story of their journey. And I really like that they got to have their moment, but at the same time too, Eric's deadite is the one that got him, so it's kind of a fun flip on that too, as far as like they had their moment, but that was unfortunately their last moment is not a positive one. So
Eric survived a lot longer than I thought he would too.
yes,
as you mentioned, like all those characters seem to go pretty quickly in like a half an hour sequence. But yeah, I was surprised that he really went to like the last maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes before he had the turn.
I couldn't imagine being in any of these situations, but just the instance where David's girlfriend becomes deadite and then has the nail gun and starts shooting, and like what do you gotta do? Like it's like you got to cover your face. And just Eric goes like this, and just the nails are going into his arm. It's like, fuck. Oh, that sucks.
This is what you do, Taylor. You just channel your inner Neo and you dodge every single one of those nails.
Well, that's what David did the second time around, because he stood there just watching and got peppered right in his shin and his kneecap or whatnot. And then like he was on the ground, and thankfully like he barrel rolled out of the way. But yeah,
He reminds
These
me
are the
of
maneuvers.
he reminds me of Dan McBride's character from Pineapple Express, where the whole movie keeps getting shot or something like that. And it's like he's always still alive, and then he dies, and then he comes back, red and stuff like that. So Eric, he had good durability and stuff like that. But at least the nails at first, it started with her shooting herself in the head, right? So that's probably why you didn't move right away, because you're probably just trying to process what's going on right now. There's this nail gun. My girlfriend, who's now has nails in her face and missing an arm too, that's completely gone. And all that stuff. And that's where I guess like the friends group, that's where it's like I like Eric. Everyone else is just kind of fine. I think why I end up liking is because I'm so glad the finale of this film wasn't David. I love that it was that's a flip on the remake where you stick with Ash. He does the thing with his friends and girlfriend. It's always Ash, right? I like that in the third act it switches, that we get Mia back like fully, and it switches to her perspective. So that's why when I rewatch this movie, even though she gets possessed as the Deadite, I still kind of feel like she's the main character of the movie, because the first act's all about her and she's in it a lot, and then the middle, she's gone, but you also just have this actress like giving this great performance as the Deadite. Like it's completely believable. That doesn't even feel like her. And then the third act, I like that just to her being the hero. And again, because David's just kind of fine. I like that. And it's a fun little fake out too of David's been, the protagonist maybe for leading up to this, but then he gets killed off, unfortunately, and it's up to Mia. So I guess that's why on a rewatch, I don't mind as much, because I like the Mia character, and it's just kind of everything centered around her. If she didn't have that third act comeback, I don't know how I would feel about the movie, because she does. I think that makes me enjoy the group more.
Mm-hmm.
Her as a character too, like she reminds me of Ash. Just certain things she's doing, like when she goes again crawling through that fucking tunnel. I don't like that when she's trying to get away from the demon thing. Don't like that. But she gets out, she goes into the shed. And this just felt like an Ash thing, because she gets the chainsaw. There's no gas in it. She looks up, sees the gas. She like bounces her like shoulder on it. The thing falls right into her hand. Fills up. Like just feels like Ash. I really, really like it. I'm jiving with it. So I'm glad that they kind of had those tendencies. And again, like you're right, her character's transition from being this kind of more weaker character with not a lot of will at the start, and being that main focal point, taking the back seat, being the Deadite, and then coming back as that main character, I think was fantastic.
Yeah, even down to the hand, getting the hand removed, and then like, I was kind of unclear what she did to it with the chainsaw. Like, I'm guessing it had that same sort of handle thing that Bruce Campbell had, where he was like a second arm or something. But
yeah, she put her.
She just like locked it in, I guess, to secure it. I don't know what it.
She puts her stub in between. There's like the chainsaw and the handle.
The handle, right?
It's
okay.
in between that. That's the handle is the holding point for her chainsaw hand and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Oh, that hand rip is just brutal. That's one where it's like
Couldn't watch it.
I remember being in the theater, just being like, I'm sure like that's how it rips, but just like that's probably the most like over the top this movie feels, because it is like it's just nuts. It's just bold.
I would argue the jigsaw is pretty over the top too, when the girlfriend's chopping off her arm.
Yeah, what is she chopping off with though?
Like the
It's
meat,
like
The meat cutter, yeah.
Okay, yeah, meat
which I
cutter.
knew when she was cutting the meat and it was very zoomed in. I'm like, that thing is coming back.
I
for
remember
sure.
that was in the trailers for the movie too. Like the first time I had actually seen the movie, I was waiting for that fucking meat cutter thing to come into play. And
When
it delivered.
Mia gets her hand stuck underneath the vehicle and she pulls it out, I believe it only to a certain point, because when I look at how wet that ground was and how muddy it was, I feel like she could like sag her hand into the mud a little bit and like,
We'll
But
do
would
that
the
test,
Jeep
yeah.
not also sink into the mud then?
It looked like it was propped up pretty good on top of the mud, but I'm not in that situation. So
I
don't
feel like
know.
it's not also perfect mud too, because when she does kill the deadite, it just like absorbs the deadite. So I feel like it's like evil mud.
It's
too.
evil
It's
mud.
evil mud.
Very
Yeah.
evil mud.
Very
Yeah,
evil
so like
mud.
you don't want to you gotta just stay on top of it and stuff like that. And that's where like I just love that the ending they just go, and I have the exact number after like the gallons of blood they use, but I just love it's this this parking lot of the cabin. It's literally just raining blood. This thing that comes out is just terrifying, like how just skinny and grotesque it looks, but just the end shot of this movie is just great, where it's just, or not the last shot, but it's just like this chainsaw in the deadite's head, and it's just spewing all this blood, and the blood's raining, and they just have this last shot of like, and it's clearly a dummy, but the deadite's just like there. That's where it's like, that's just balls to the wall. It's just like the most like horrific thing I've seen. But at that point, I remember I'm always just laughing because it just seems ridiculous, but I love that they went for it.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I was curious what you guys thought about this, where we talked about how Mia, is a recovering drug addict here, and that's kind of the reason why the rest of the crew see some of her actions and think, okay, this is just her withdrawal process and whatnot. I felt like early on the movie was maybe gonna go for this analog, this commentary on like comparing some of that transformation to what it's like to like, to try and get yourself off of like some hardcore drugs or something like that. I don't know if that was like something the director had experienced in their life, or like a friend they knew or something like that, and they're trying to maybe have a deeper message there. But then I feel like the movie did not really try to go through with that at all. So maybe that was just me seeing into things, and I think it was strictly just for like plot purposes, so that they would have a reason for not wanting to drive her out of there, that they were setting up this kind of storyline there. So I liked it because I felt like it was a good hook. Because it was something different too from that original of why we're at that cabin, where in that they just wanted to go party at this random cabin, but this cabin was actually the family home, and this was like their second attempt to like counteract this OD thing. So I thought it worked for what it was in there, but I think they could have gone a step further. I don't know if the movie needed to have some sort of greater message over top of it with that in there, but I thought it was interesting that they were almost like dancing close to it and then just kind of decided not to do anything with it.
No, I read the same commentary that you do. I think they just felt that probably once they got into the middle deadite stuff, they can't have the dialogue they want. Even though I think you could have done like a little stuff with Mia when she's possessed in a way, but I feel like they used that first act to, I think they're for sure trying to show that being addicted to a drug, it takes you over. You're not the person you once were. So I think they kind of use that parallel, but it's definitely more for the plot. But I think they are on purpose laying that there. They just don't dive deep into it because once people got the meat cleavers and stuff, it's probably hard. It's hard to pause and get back to it, but
It very much feels like that's the focus until like that jumping off point with the deadites and the meat cleavers and all that shenanigans. And it's a nice turn too, because I feel like there's so many, it's a nice, I guess, just way to tackle a horror movie like this, because there's so many moments in horror movies where people will just make comments like, why the fuck didn't they just leave at this point in the movie? Or why the fuck didn't they just do this at this point in the movie? It's they couldn't. Like that was the whole point. Like they had to just stick it out. She's going cold turkey. It's gonna be brutal, but we have to make it through. You're gonna thank us in the morning, Mia.
That scene when she was in the shower and half of her face was kind of burned off and the boiling water. You get this shot where David takes her like out of here. They're going to get across like the riverbank, and he obviously can't. He has to stop because you see all the water flooding. He's out there, and it's unsettling because again, this sets the tone for what's coming. He turns to look at Mia, who is like just passed out in the truck, but like she's still like got her head laying on the side of the door, but her eyes are watching him, and she's smiling a little bit. It's like fuck. It's just eerie. She did a fantastic job at that.
oh yeah, she's the best deadite they've ever had, and obviously it's because you get the main one, but she makes that completely believable. I feel like she does a good job of always, and I think it's good for the actress, just like her eyes have this where she at moments just looks so innocent, but then it just turns, because you always just don't know, is she like completely gone or how much of her is gone, but then there's always something going on. I didn't even say on 3 times, but
she's got a creepy look to her. I don't want to like be mean to the actress. I feel like because I'm sure when she's on the red carpet, she's looking amazing and all that. But even before shit goes down and she's just outside in the rain, not the blood rain, like the first raining sequence, and she's just walking laps to try and just keep her mind off of it. Like she's looking like Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings here. Like she has like kind of this creepiness to her that I think translated well into her also playing the role of the Deadite. So yeah, really good job from her.
No, yeah, I think she just has like a different look, which is good, and probably not like that's probably why we haven't seen her much. Is like it's not like a Hollywood go-to look, but I hope we do see her in more stuff again that's in our realm and everything, because I got this in Don't Breathe, which is great, but I think it's kind of like the Bruce Campbell thing, but different, where Bruce Campbell had to be by himself and be like comedic and have that timing, where you look at, like I said, the role of Mia and then the role of her Possessed, is like that's still the same actress doing all that stuff, and I feel like she takes it above and beyond than other people that just have to play like a deformed person and stuff. When she's saying all those remarks and she's like being threatening, like she's scary, and she comes off as like a very Freddy Krueger-esque of like the mean type of funny, when she's like, you guys are like the cocksucker stuff, all those things, like when she like cuts her tongue and then she like licks like the girlfriend's like leg and stuff, like just the way she's toying with them and everything. But the actress makes sure it looks like the Dead has such like a sense of just like pleasure of doing all this stuff. Like she has to do a lot, and I imagine it was and she had to wear like the makeup took a while too. Like I imagine it was a very physically demanding role for us. It's just on screen, but for her she's probably doing multiple days of having to be in this like mindset. So it's very well done. So.
And like just huge credit of like pulling off the two different versions of that character, because like honestly until now you guys talking about it, like I just assumed it was another actor or something.
Oh yeah, no, it's all
like,
her.
Like Deadite Mia, because she just completely switches. Even like when she is heavy on the withdrawal and like not doing well, she's not the Deadite Mia. So like there's like multiple different versions of Mia that the actress Jane Levy,
Levy,
yeah,
Dan
like
Levy.
the way that she, yeah, there you go. She's related.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
No, she's not.
Just like, yeah, the way that she's able to completely just switch in those moments, like huge credit. Like I was fooled. I completely thought it was just a different actor. So.
Man, I didn't even know this. So there's a show I've never gone to watch. It got canceled. I want to. There's a show called Castle Rock, and it's this weird thing where it's like a Bill Skarsgård's in it and other people. It's a kind of island, and it's like a weird. They have multiple Stephen King characters on this island interacting, so it's almost like a Stephen King cinematic universe. I didn't even know this, and this might make me watch the show. They had her play Jackie Torrance, so they had her play a female version of Jack Nicholson's character from The Shining. So I didn't even know that, and that's what they're always playing up there, is like things of misery and stuff like that. And she's also in the show, I guess, that just recently got, like, I don't know if it was canceled or end. It's called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I have no idea what that is, but so she's still doing stuff, and she still has stuff upcoming. I'm just hoping she pops up and, like I said, something for us. And I want to see her in more things, because she's only been acting since 2016. So it's really not, she hasn't even hit her 10 years of acting. And so I hope
2016. This movie came out in 2013.
Oh, what the fuck am I looking at then?
Travel. I mean, yeah, I think like even if she's not in
2011.
Even if she's not in Evil Dead Rise, let's say the movie does pretty well and they want to do another one kind of right away. Like I think it totally works fine to bring that character back now, and she can interact with. I don't know how you connect her storyline with that of Rise, because I haven't seen that movie yet, but I think that could be pretty easy to do, to bring her back for that. So that would be cool. Otherwise, yeah, I'm down to see her in other stuff too. But
get them all together, do Avengers of the Evil Dead characters, put them all together. Let's get that Army of Darkness. So. Oh, where to now?
Well, just to touch upon that again before we move on from her. You mentioned the things that Mia was saying, and specifically, that one sequence. I'll just piggyback, like you said it. The tongue and the switchblade, or the box cutter, just fucking brutal, absolutely brutal.
Oh,
and just the things that she starts saying from there, like "kiss me, you whore," and it starts like making out with her, and it's bloody and everything like that. And yeah, it's just,
and the voice modulation they have with it too. It's like that sounds like, that literally sounds like the devil. Just like, kiss me, you whore, give me your mouth.
Yeah, and
the blood.
David's just a horrible boyfriend. Because, I mean, he arrived at the worst time. I mean, a good time to save her, but still the worst time. Should have been there a while ago. But yeah, he swings open the thing, and just when the light shines down, Mia just like freaks and like looks up, and yeah, it's just pulls her out, and just, you said it, like, why don't you come down here so I can suck your cock, pretty boy? It's like, what the fuck? Because that's just totally is a tonal shift, and just like, I mean, that's what a demon would do. And he's like, Mia, what have you done? Like, where's Mia? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, Mia's not here, you fucking idiot.
I laughed so hard at that part.
I like that the demons have like this. They take a split second just to like correct you in the fact, like, it's obvious that Mia's not here. Like, Jesus. But yeah, just she's fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I guess we were talking about Eric earlier. The battle between him and Olivia in the bathroom, I thought was really great. Just the turn of her like being in the corner and all that.
Great
yeah,
build up. Great anticipation. Scary.
Yeah. Because we obviously got that scene of her like, she just like freezes in place, drops the stuff, and then he comes in later. So all that sequence was really good. I guess we haven't talked much about Natalie. That's the girlfriend, but I like this sequence too when she gets infected. Later, she goes into the kitchen. And then, like, her hand, is starting to do the thing. And I was like, okay, how are they going to do this? Like, are they going to let her do the full Bruce Campbell thing here and let her try and do that? But I like that it was kind of like, no, let's subvert the expectation here. Instead, she's just going to cut her fucking arm off. And it sucks because that did not even end up helping in any way. But I like that we got a little bit of the hand acting thing, but only just a touch. Only just a little homage. And then, like, okay, cool, let's do something different with it instead, which is just even more fucked up than you could even imagine.
Would you be able to chop off your arm to prevent like just being possessed?
If you see it looking like that, fuck yeah, it's coming off.
You're chopping it off right there.
If it looks like that and you see the
with
black
the meat knife
possession coming down, like,
Well, what else
I
are you
am
gonna chop
just
off,
becoming.
Kirkland?
I'm becoming a deadite, bros. You better run. I'm coming for you. I'm not chopping off my own arm.
She did not take much time to think about it. It was a very like quick reaction thing. So
if it was like that and like or an axe, if I could just take an axe and just chop it, like one and done. But like the fact that it's
Couldn't be
just
able
a
to do an
saw.
axe though. You could
I'll
not
saw
get
it
enough
off for
power
you.
with it. You couldn't get enough power
To
with an
saw
axe
it
by
off?
yourself.
for you, if I'm there and I see it, me and Travis will hold you down. Dylan will grab the saw and we'll cut it off.
I think
As we see,
like,
it didn't matter though.
I think like 4 centimeters before you touch my skin, I'll probably pass out, and then it'll
There you
be
go.
fine. Yeah.
And then we secretly just behead him because we know he's turning. And
you
stuff
got
like
to
that.
take off all the limbs. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that sequence too, where she's cutting it off, and again with Mia's in the basement, like, don't you do it, don't you do it, like just freaking out. Holy
And that's the
shit.
thing too. I love when it's the dichotomy of whenever a Deadite hurts somebody in the basement, she kind of plays the character off of like she's having like sexual pleasure out of it. But then when the Deadites get hurt, she's like running around scared and she looks like she's feeling like the pain of the Deadites and stuff like that. So I love the dichotomy of the levels of pain that she can kind of, no matter if it's getting, depends who it's getting done to, but she can feel the punishment being dished out. And again, they go to her multiple times in the basement too, and I think that's smart because I feel like in the first Evil Dead, you put her that one in the basement, say, "Oh my God, her eyes," and she looks under there and she gives her a little dialogue. But then there are lots of times where, and probably for budget, she's just in the basement. I always feel like they're going back to Mia, reminding you like she's there, and this Deadite's kind of like the responsible for all this because it's infecting these people one by one by one. So.
Yeah, good use of the cellar too. Of that's like a very iconic part of the set of those original 2 movies. So I think they were able to draw even more out of that, which is cool. And I think once again, like the overtopness of just how much chains and shit he put on that compared to what the original movies had, right? Just like one upping what the previous ones did. I thought that was a nice touch as well.
Kirkland, I'm curious. So what do you do if, again, Mia's locked in the basement?
You're putting all
You're in
these
this
scenarios.
setting. I am, yeah. You're in this
Lay it on
setting. Mia's obviously possessed, went fucking ape shit, and she's in the basement. So now you hear a noise, and you go into that living room, and you see the basement doors wide open, like David's girlfriend. What do you do?
What's my relation to Mia? Is it my daughter? Is it my girlfriend?
Let's say
Is
it's on
it
the reverse.
just
So
a friend?
you're dating Mia's sister, Davy.
So
Go
she's
call her
saying
Davy.
Taylor's saying if Shay's sister, does Shay have a sister, Kirkland?
Yes, she does.
If Shay's sister's in the fucking the basement,
See you
and the
later,
thing's up-
Michaela. We're done. I think I'm gunning it. I think I'm fucking out of there. I'm doing Dylan. What Dylan
You're like me and
said,
Dylan.
I'm
Yeah, you're
swimming.
you're
I'm
diving.
swimming. I can't
You
even
can't be
swim,
that
so
far.
I'm drowning in that river.
Drowning honestly is probably a better way to go than what happens in the cabin. You know, like if you have to
Yeah.
go, because the only
Oh, yeah.
the only person that's gonna make it out in your story is Michaela, so you're gonna have to die. Like I feel
Yeah.
like it's just like the water's better because at least you got a chance, and maybe you could just swim and see what you can do. You know,
Well,
even then, I
I
guarantee
feel like
there's like
Olivia
those.
almost got drowned by the blood. Oh my god, when Mia's just vomiting on her.
Oh,
and afterwards, like
God.
all the chunks that
There was
were on her,
chunks.
too. There
Rained
were
at
so
her.
many
Yeah.
chunks, man. That is some pulpy blood right there.
Yeah, Jane Lee said she hated doing that because not so much for her, but for that take. But like, hey, again, I feel much like the original actors. I feel like they commit to the gross stuff. Like obviously they do, but just like there's like big time of like okay, and obviously it's just like food color and stuff like that. But still, they fucking blast you with that stuff, and yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not even just a physical like pain like that. It's just like now what's gonna happen? She's gonna vomit on him, and then it's gonna be just like everything you can think of. It's just like I'm surprised no one was peed on in this movie, you know. And it would
Someone
probably
was.
been like,
It was Olivia. She pissed
Well, she didn't
herself.
pee on
well, she pissed
someone,
herself, but I
she
mean,
peed
like I'm
herself.
surprised fucking no one pissed. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. She did pee herself, and
She peed on herself.
don't-
Which was she got to drink some more water. That was very yellow.
Yeah, highly
urine.
yellow.
Do you think that cabin had water? I don't think
Comically.
so. Yeah, you know, there's not much hydration there. So.
Yeah, the water coming out of that well is probably not the cleanest.
Yeah, I ain't drinking that shit. That's probably what infected them. Never mind
It's
the
deadite
book.
piss. for sure.
Yeah, really. It's just a bunch of laid over vomit and stuff like that. But oh boy,
The Deadite Vision, I mentioned that comes back just
Yeah,
a little
great.
bit. Once again, just a tasteful amount. Looks solid. Looks like you'd expect. I like that the road is flooded instead of the broken bridge again. Once again, just like a little change you can do. It's like a similar concept, but it's something a little bit different. And then they do get some mileage too out of that kind of set piece where the car's in the water and then the deadite pops out of the water and stuff like that. So I think they use that setting to their advantage as well. And that just felt like something that they had a bit more budget and they could do something a bit more than just like, oh yeah, this bridge that like you can't see this bridge. It's just like broken. Here's like a couple pieces of metal to signify this bridge is broken. Instead, they had this really cool shot of this whole like place getting flooded over.
yeah, I liked it.
Another little like homage thing I liked is kind of near the end of the movie when David he's kind of building that makeshift defibrillator with like the car battery and stuff like that, and they do that Army of Darkness thing where like there's all these like quick little zoom ins on all the different tools and like just all the things he's doing there. So once again, just tasteful little like homage stuff all over this movie that I really appreciated.
And he's like, I feel like I was expecting him to just be like a bit of a doofus, or like, I don't know. They don't make him super intelligent from the get go in this movie. So all of a sudden he's just like an engineer or something. He's just
He
like
works at a shop,
fabricating this
though, remember?
defib. I don't.
He
There
got
you go.
a job up at a shop or whatever in
Kentucky or Chicago or something.
Chicago, yeah. So that's why he went for it.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Okay.
Kentucky, Chicago, the other city in there. Yeah. I love that scene when she does get brought back because you get the classic when he's burying her. You get the classic, like they switch to the nice version of, oh, please don't do this and stuff like that. And I love when he's walking away. And I love there's no big music. There's nothing. It's just her voice. And then they like pan over and they do such a good job because it's David's face and then in the background it's Mia, but the focus isn't on her. So you can't see, like, you don't know what's going on back there. You don't know if this is another trick. You don't know if she's still looking dead because they do a good job that she's far enough back and she's out of focus until he turns and they do the focus and they hug and stuff like that. I love that because I remember the theater being like, don't fucking do it. It's not your sister. And it was. And that's why I loved it. It was like another fake out. I was like, don't do it. I don't care that you did this fucking ritual. It probably didn't work. We've seen rituals not work in the past, but no, it was her. And then unfortunately he gets taken. But I loved that kind of reveal of no music, kind of playing again with expectations of stuff that's happened in the past. And because this would be something that the Deadite would do, right? Of like, oh, I'm better. Like, and like want that embrace. So it's just like up until the point where you know you're safe, you're just like, oh God, what's gonna happen here? And you know, he did it. He got her back.
The way she says, just David, you know, like just when she calls
Yeah.
out him is like, oh God, there's layers on that. The way she says that
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Not trustworthy at all.
Yeah, and like in my memory, I knew that Mia was like the big focal point of like the end sequence of. I remember the car moment of her ripping off her hand like very vividly, but still in that moment, like when she said his name, I'm like, that's fucking Deadite. Like, come on now. like I've seen this before. I've been here before. So yeah, they really well done with that scene. And even when he was like burying her, I love how the Deadite, again, just mind games, just like was pretending to be like choking, like I can't breathe, and then it just like it like dies, and it's like, why do you hate me, David? And then it just like leans into just like I think that's when she was talking about the mom, and just like really getting under his skin and like into his mind, and that's something that the Deadites always do. So, but like specifically that scene, I love that. And then when he kept like burying her more, it started to like breathe really heavily, and it was like sucking the bag. Oh, it was just so disturbing. Yeah.
The quick cut too of like when the dirt like finally covers her face, and then it just like quickly fades to black, and you get the next shot of him. I thought that was cool the way that was edited as well. I also really liked that they kind of set that up earlier. That of course she's like, you're all gonna die tonight and all this stuff. But then when Eric's going through the prophecies later, and it's like when like all 5 of them die is when the Deadite whatever is gonna get resummoned, the demon whatever it was. And I really liked the way that turned out. That like David, okay, he's alive at the end of this thing, but then he brings back Mia, so she comes back. But then he ends up dying, and you're thinking, okay, well, not all of them have died, but obviously she died and then came back. So the way that was done, I thought was pretty cool as well.
Well, and technically, it's a small continuity error that they in the book they say that it's not that they have to die, it's that they have to be taken over by a Deadite. And David in the theatrical version does not, but in like the mini extended version, there's like a quick scene where you show that David has been taken over, and then like the thing collapses, like the cabin or whatever and stuff. So
when it's on fire.
Yeah, to me it was fine. It's like I get what they're. I don't need. To
Yeah,
see
I totally
that,
missed it. So
yeah, I found that in the trivia. That does not me. That's I found the trivia like, oh, okay, so there you go. And I don't even know if this extended version is out there. It doesn't sound like there's much to it and stuff. But
yeah, this isn't a case where I watched the wrong ending, like with Army.
Yeah.
So.
Ended up in London. Yeah, that would be weird.
You didn't see where Mia woke up in London.
I did miss a post credit though with Bruce Campbell, so I guess I missed that part.
Yeah, it's literally a 5-second like, oh, okay, cool, they did that, because that was the word had leaked that he was in the post credit, so everyone's really excited. Because like, oh man, we're getting more Ash, and eventually we did with the show, so it worked out. By the time it's like, oh, that's all we got was just him saying groovy. Yeah, it's him saying groovy. Cool, So
I love just overall like the whole end sequence, specifically with just like the raining blood and how just everything is red, and it just seems like she is battling for her life, like literally in hell in that moment. It's just like right at the climax, like it's just balls to the walls. We are like you're not on Earth anymore, like you are just this satanic realm right now, and they really hit that hard with that raining blood.
That must have been such a fun day to shoot. Like I that must have been just like that landscape, everything. Like that would have been a fun time on set. You're doing with the stuff, the chainsaw, like that. I probably was a pain too with some stuff, but yeah, I love that it just kind of feels like a Mortal Kombat stage. Like it's flipped over, and now you're in its realm, and you got to get out of here. And she did, and you get that sunrise, and it's great. But yeah, that ending, and I forgot to mention, I don't think I put it in the trivia, but Dylan, you're talking about the bearing as well too. They did this thing where they gave her like some sort of breathing apparatus, but they didn't tell the actor that played David. So he did actually bury her, and the idea was so when he would pull her out, it would look realistic as possible because he's trying to get her out there. So they kind of fucked with him a little bit, saying like, "Oh yeah, like you got to get her out of there real quick." But the whole time she actually had.
He's like, "Are you sure this is not a human rights violation? Like, should I be doing this right now?"
Yeah, but
she's just such a method actor. She's like, "She'll do it."
Yeah, but that ending, like if I don't know, one day when we're running out of ranking ideas, but like third act climactic battles in a horror movie or settings, like this is easily in the top 10 for me. It's great. It's just fun imagery and stuff. So
one other I don't know, I wasn't clear if this was supposed to be an homage or not, or if it was just a whatever the way they shot this particular scene. But I feel like one of the iconic things with the Evil Dead is like that 360 kind of shot, and you kind of get one of those. It's more of like a 180, but I'll give it to them. When they're in the cabin early on, and it's almost from like the book's perspective. The book is on the table, and then it's just like there's just a camera shot of following Mia as she circles the room. Yeah. So I liked that little touch. Thought it was cool, and it was something different too. It wasn't like her looking around. It was essentially the book's perspective, which is kind of goofy, which I liked.
Anything else specifically? I'll pull up my notes. But anything else specifically to shout before I throw out some trivia?
I don't believe so. Like the eyes line that the girlfriend dropped is like basically the exact same from Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is wrong with her eyes?
happened to
the
her
eyes? Yeah.
The lights.
The lights. Yeah, get Willem Dafoe in an Evil Dead movie. You know.
Oh man.
That'd be something. Great.
Have him be like the one non-deadite too.
Yeah, interacting with
The new
wall.
Ash.
Yeah. Okay. So trivia. Let's see. 95% of this remake was shot in chronological order. This was done because a lot of the films take place in a controlled environment, and the level of blood and violence gets worse and worse as the film progresses. By shooting in order, the filmmakers could throw blood on the walls and not worry to mess up the other shots. So it made sense because, like, obviously the first Evil Dead had lots of times with Bruce Campbell covered, but you think about like the bloodbaths, you think about like even that yard where they were shooting, you can't like that would have been a pain of like, hey, let's do this blood rain scene, and then we're gonna clean it up and we're gonna shoot all our stuff. So it makes sense, and that's a big thing because most movies honestly like rarely shoot. You don't usually shoot in chronological order. You just kind of shoot in like what you work set wise. So. Here's the thing that I was talking about. So in the original for the Bruce Campbell one, 200 to 300 gallons of blood was used, like obviously fake blood. Corner reports in the press film, it used 70,000 fake gallons of blood. In an interview, Fetty said they used 50 gallons alone in the final scene. So just the final scene, that was 50 gallons of fake blood just to get all that pouring and everything like that. So... let's see. Yeah, I talked about that story about Campbell wasn't happy about the Ash thing, but then they told me he wouldn't, and then he was all on board. Yeah, talked about the Mia Evil Dead sequel. Let's see. Since Universal Studios passed on Army of Dead 2 or Army of Darkness with Ash, yeah. So it's just they just passed on it, and like Dylan said, they must have viewed that it wasn't good enough. This film was originally rated NC-17 until it was toned down a bit for an R rating, which is still like even when I watched this, I'm like I don't know, like this is a hard R, but according to the director,
NC-17?
I mean, so rated R is like, hey, my kid who is, let's say I want to take Gwen to it right now. Technically a rated R movie. I could take her to go see Evil Dead 2013 if it's rated R. If it's NC-17, you have to be 17. Doesn't matter if you have a guardian with you. So and in Hollywood, that's a def now. You never want your movie to be NC-17 as the first Evil Dead because like you cut off a lot of the audience. Obviously, like this, you're not going to lose the kids, but you're kind of hoping maybe those like middle school, high school kids and stuff like that, right? So
Right.
Let's see. According to the director Sam Raimi, we're always willing to keep it NC-17 since the original film has that. However, the studio required it to have an R rating to order to release. So that was kind of the ultimatum they gave him. Like, if you don't get this down to R, we're not going to release it.
I wonder what
so.
they changed to make that happen.
Oh, I know, right? Like, what did they take out of it? So some of the cast had 3-hour makeup sessions and another hour more to get out of it. So they're usually in chairs about 4 hours a day with the Deadites and stuff. Yeah, so the original ending at one point, you can find this on Twitter, director Fede Alvarez for the 9-year anniversary posted an ending where Mia, it's pretty much just the same as the first one where something falls her and it's insinuated that she is like possessed again or killed, like kind of like Ash in the first one, that she didn't make it out. But Sam Raimi and Fetty said it was wise that he said after he saw the film that he should take it out because he felt like Mia had been through enough. So that was kind of a Sam Raimi influence thing. They just thought, like this character should get a happy ending. Like there's been a lot of shit that's happened, and Fetty's like, okay, and that's what happened. And how he got the job is Fede Alvarez pitched to the producers that he wanted to make an Evil Dead film that the audience is watching something they're not supposed to be watching. So he's wanted to make it just, I don't know, snubby and stuff like that. And here's two things I really liked about, or no, I already gave this one my last point of, again, so this was back in 2003. At one point, they were developing Evil Dead remake. At this point, they're talking about 2 people playing Ash. One of them was Marlon Wayans, and the other one was Ashton Kutcher. Those were the 2 top choices. So
Wow.
in 2003, we almost got that remake and it got killed. But yeah, and Ashton Kutcher, Ash. And that's for like, I get that Ash is, it's funny, Ashton Kutcher. I get that he is a comedic character, but to me, that's the studio looking at a character and going the complete wrong direction of what you do there, you know?
Kelso in the...
Yes, Kelso, yeah. Or the guy from Scary Movie, you know? Yeah, so... Yeah, I'm glad those remakes didn't happen. I'm sure one day they'll bring back Ash, but I'm glad. So
Ashton? Or Bruce Campbell?
Ash, just Ash. Yeah, I'd be down if Ashton Kutcher plays himself in an Evil Dead movie against the Deadite, sure, but I don't even play Ash. You know, that's a step too. I get why they would have done it though. He's taller and he's lankier and he has like the hair and stuff. But I think we ended up okay. I'm glad we got Mia instead of a new Ash. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Domas,
Was,
final thoughts? Oh, nope.
Was the
Kirkland doesn't wanna be
necklace
opening,
that
final?
David gave Mia? It was like in a very similar shape to that necklace that Ash gave his girlfriend in the first, I guess, 2 movies. Now it was kind of like a magnifying glass. This one, it doesn't. It's not a mirror or anything like that, but it definitely was in that similar shape. It completely slipped my mind
Interesting.
until now
I
when
totally
you're going
missed
to
Plus
that.
5 to willpower. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. You get
Yeah,
like
that's
more
why she
mana pool
survived.
and mana
Yeah.
regen. Yeah.
This helps you with breathing under dirt, but no, it's probably a callback, even though not the exact same. And like, if you want to go in trivia too, there's like a bunch of other just like little like dialogue stuff, things like that. They did a lot of just even tributing, so you can tell writers, directors, everything. Big fan of the franchise. So, all right, Dylan, final thoughts if Kirkland will allow it.
Am I good, Kirkland? Should I take it away here? He's muting. He's muting.
You're dying tonight. He just starts.
Yeah. Look at this. I'm all caught up. I've seen all the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah,
Soon to
congrats.
see Rise. Yeah, this series is not at all what I was expecting. And I'm really glad I came on this journey because this is a weird collection of horror movies.
Yep.
Very bizarre, but super interesting at the same time. Even if 2 of them, I don't really care for them that much. At least I have Army of Darkness, which I love, and now this, which is very, very solid. I don't know. I think I'm not like Travis. I can't just put this on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm quite in Kirkland's camp where I watch it once every like blue moon or every like 100 years or something. But yeah, I think it's great. So I'm very excited for Rise. Haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know what to expect.
Ooh.
Other than that, it seems like it's gonna be quite scary, and seeing it in theaters will be quite the experience. So yeah, that's about it for me.
You're going alone, right? None of us are bringing our significant others to this one.
No way.
I'm not bringing my
no.
significant
usually like my horror movie guy is my dad, and he's actually out of town that day, so I have to see this alone in my
Oh my
You
God,
my West Side
come,
theater.
come with me. Come with me. Unless are you coming with me too, Travis? Like let's all go.
Absolutely not.
Can all
No,
hold
maybe
hands.
I don't know.
Oh,
We'll beat each other
Potentially.
off.
I'll go. Yeah, beach. I'll go with you, Kirkland.
All right, I'll hold you up.
If it's
to
at the west side and you're going alone, I'll go.
Okay.
I'd
On
the
rather
extreme
sit with
screen?
someone. Yeah, with those speakers.
Take out serious
Yeah.
audio in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me.
I guarantee you,
actually.
Bo is afraid he's not getting the fucking extreme.
that reminds me of another point. One of the things that the music did with this, or the sound effects with this film, what I really liked, it was like a siren for like a tsunami warning. It was like this kind of sound, and it did it every time there was something very ominous that obviously was going to happen or something sinister. They used it repeatedly throughout the film. Very well
Yeah.
done.
I like the score a lot. I actually should look who did it. The other thing I forgot to mention, sound design wise, is like the first time Mia's really taken over, and it's like the doors are bugging out, and she says like you're gonna die tonight. When she's yelling, you hear a bunch of other voices. Those are the voices from the first till Evil Deads, and they've just put them in there and remixed them and muffled them. So it's like those Deadites speaking again at the same time Mia's yelling. So that's fun
That's
stuff.
cool.
And I really like the credits. It's just the original tape playing again from the first movie. It's the audio taken. So again, fun things of like that's what I like. It's kind of like this cab, and whoever goes there, it's a loop. You're just you would be stuck in it until it consumes you, and then you're just another voice, another victim of the book. Like that's where I like kind of that idea of if it is a sequel that you hear these voices of the other Deadites because they're locked away in the fucking cabin and stuff like that. So
Fucking cabin.
Taylorfield, go ahead.
Yeah, this film just serves as a great remake and spiritual successor, I guess you could say. Spiritual successor? Sequel, remake.
All the above.
Yeah. I just think that it really cements itself as being its own unique thing while pulling in the great qualities from the original source material, those original films. I love that I can look at this and just kind of pretend that it just exists in the same. I mean, it exists in that same universe. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily a direct continuation, but it's all within that Evil Dead cinematic universe, just like Evil Dead Rise is going to be in my headcanon. So I like that, and yeah, just this definitely serves as a powerful, just torture, gory horror porn flick that I would not have gone to actively seek this out unless I was in that like specific mood to just be immersed in some modern day Evil Dead, or we're doing a retrospective conveniently. So, yeah, I think that I would give this I'd probably go like a 7.5. No, I'll go like an 8 out of 10 actually. I go higher on it just because like it really pushes the boundary for a lot of things. and like you said, Travis, a lot of things that I had never seen before. I put it off because I was expecting it to be brutal, but it proved that point of being, holy shit, this is very brutal. And I think that they were able to really have a lot of fun with a lot of the different set pieces and everything that they did in this movie. And the acting, again, Mia totally steals the spotlight for me, and the other crew just being there just as cannon fodder, just to get infected and turn into deadites, which is always a good time. But yeah, this is something I will definitely watch again. I just have to pick my moment.
I feel like these Evil Dead movies have ranked a lot lower for Taylor than I was expecting. You know, like each time he gives these ratings, like, oh, really? You know, I think there's maybe one Evil Dead 2, but
If I didn't watch it at 6 a.m., I might have given it a little higher.
Yeah. Ruined your whole day going to work. Just
OJ and
the
Evil
screams
Dead
in your mind.
2013. Yeah, here we go, Mr. Patzer.
Yeah. So I am terrified of this movie. I probably won't revisit it for a little while now. I don't know if I'll make it to 10 years, but yeah, I need I need a cool down period from this one. Which isn't to say that I didn't like the movie. It's just it did its job. It scared the hell out of me. And yeah, I'm frightened to go into Evil Dead Rise. I think I'm still gonna give this one though a big ol' 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the most frightening horror movies I've seen in my life, and I've seen many, but this one really just has those very visceral scenes that just corrupted my brain. Because like I remember even having that thought like after the first time I saw this, just like I don't know if it was a week after, it feels like maybe a month after, but it was just like certain screams or kills were just popped in my mind, and I'm like, man, what a fucked up thing I just saw. Which that's basically what the Evil Dead's going for, so they definitely hit their mark there. Great, yeah, just sequel series, remake, all the above, whatever we want to call it. I think they did such a good job at capturing that essence of what is Evil Dead and just modernizing it and leaving the kooky funny stuff to the side, which has its place. You know, I'm so glad that the originals are what they are, but yeah, this one is the most terrifying film you will ever experience, as the title.
That's what the poster
tagline
says.
says.
Yeah. And you know, at times it is. I feel like there's times where it the intensity, but and again, that's what I love about the franchise. You got this, and then like I said, a couple years later, we're not retroing them, but you have that TV show that is more Army of Darkness, right? And then the next Evil Dead thing is Evil Dead Rise, which looks like a bit more of this. So that's the thing that it's a fun franchise that you can kind of do that, and you're never betraying the fans, because there's Evil Dead that is super hardcore evil, and there's an Evil Dead that's super over the top, and it's super rare you can do that in one franchise and not be like look at like not everybody. There's some people that look at Thor Ragnarok of like, oh, this is fucking just so awful because like I hate Thor being this funny and Marvel being so IP. Fuck, where's my original films? Evil Dead Rise, no, but like that's what it's such an impressive franchise, and I hope Rise is successful. Also, I hope I like it first of all. Luckily, I like to love all these films, but I hope it's successful because I'm always down to see more like what you can do. And just even then, like I feel like it's a franchise that's what I like. We'll get into when we get to Rise, but when the producer or that director's been, I couldn't do a cabin movie, so we want to do something else. And I feel like there's lots of stuff, even the Army of Darkness route, like we haven't even scratched the surface with Evil Dead. I'm not saying we need to go MCU and have an Evil Dead cinematic universe, but just even though I'd be down with Ash and Mia and everyone teaming up together. But yeah, this movie, this is a full on 10 for me. I really like. It's one of these things that I don't think I'd say it's one of the greatest movies ever. Acting's a little meh, but all the stuff, it's just those moments that stick with you. It's kind of like how movies, stuff like Midsommar and Hereditary, where that's a different type of sticks with you. But years later, I'm much more higher on them now than I was the first time I watched them, because it's those movies that when you think back and something's burned your mind. Like I'm not sure if Taylor's about to pull up a certain clip and stuff like that, but like when I think of Hereditary and that end sequence, that's how I think of Evil Dead. Like this one specifically. The other ones. Exactly. Look at that, right? Like there. I think there's other ones, especially maybe one that there's aspects of it I like better, but this one just has some great moments, has a great performance, and it's just really well done, just intense horror. And it's one that it jumps to my mind when you think of, hey, what's scary? Not that this was scary, but it's like I said, that stuff that sticks with you in the middle of the night, where it's like, man, it's not that it's scary, but the stuff that if I were to think of the scariest stuff that I would not want to happen to me, this movie is one of them, you know, like that's where it's like stuff like Conjuring, stuff like that, where like Saw I love, but I'm never like scared of Saw, you know, and that's like body torture, but this is body torture different degree. So yeah, I loved it. And same thing as Fetty. I really hope that he brings with that Alien movie. I'd love to see what he could do with the sensibilities. I'd love the same way Prey that we got that, and that kind of like revitalized the Predator franchise. We still got a sequel now, so who knows? But just felt like that was like everyone was really happy on that. I'd love it if we got that with Alien again, where it's like, oh, we got another great Alien movie, and it's done by this guy. So yeah, I'm looking very forward to Rise. Those trailers look scary as hell. I'm not ready, but I am ready. And yeah, this was a very fun retro. I'm glad we did because we had talked about it for a while. So let us know what you thought about these. Come back for Evil Dead Rise and the next newscast after that, because we'll be doing a ranking of the franchise and some scenes and stuff like that. So yes, thank you very much. And when we hear from you on Evil Dead Rise, it'll